Let me share my screen. Other operating systems. Believe it or not, you will be required to know these two little guys. He's so cute. I wonder where they got the little penguin from. I know it's Linux, but I'm just saying I just don't know where they got the icon from and how they got the idea. Either which way, let's go here and play. Explain the purpose and context, knowing how to navigate other operating systems, including Mac, Linux, and mobile operating systems is our main objectives. Be able to compare and contrast features and functions in a Mac OS versus a Linux OS. The growth in popularity in Linux and Mac OS has increased importance for computer technicians nowadays. Prior to that, technicians mostly only needed to know Windows Server. That was the major applications that were being used. But Linux is getting a grab of hold, especially when it comes to the network field and people that like security. The same thing with Mac OS. A lot of the designers prefer the Mac OS operating system compared to the actual Windows system. Like any other operating system, the Mac OS and the Linux OS will function better and with more reliability with proper care. If you have scheduled backups, disk maintenance, updates and patch management, your firmware updates, your antivirus updates, all these things are not excluded from these operating systems, although the Mac OS was almost impenetrable for years. Nowadays, though, there is some software or viruses, malware, whatever you want to call it, that are being written to attack them. There is tools that exist, as we mentioned before, backup or time machine, restore/snapshot, image recovery itself, disk maintenance utilities. You have the shell/really terminal is what they use, right? And you have screen sharing, you have force quit. All these are tools that exist within these operating systems. Other features that the Mac OS has and the Linux systems is the multiple desktops, or what they call mission control. You also have your keychain. I'm pretty sure some of you know what that is. Spotlight and iCloud within the Mac OS. Operating systems currently in the market, as we know, Windows has taken the major lead when it comes to market share. You have still Windows 10 and Windows 7 taking up most of the stuff. Closely, really close is Mac OS, not. Except we're at about 10%. As you can see, we still have Windows 8 and XP above the Linux. Amazing. Any questions or doubts?
I got two questions. My first question is, when it says market share, is that talking about profits? Because Linux is open source.
Market share is the amount of computers in the market. Systems.
Oh, like how many systems are running the operating system?
Yeah.
And my second question is, I thought Windows does have multiple desktops.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, I can just hold Control star and I can toggle to different workstations.
Control.
Or is that something different? Yeah. You have to first set it up. You may have to do star and then tab, and then you can set up different workstations, just like in Linux or Apple.
Unaware of it. If you want to share your screen and show us.
Yeah, sure. I use it a lot.
Multiple desktops, like in Apple. We're talking about where I can go and just grab the desktop, throw it back up, bring another desktop down.
Yeah. Unless maybe I'm wrong, but I can show you quickly. Let me use screen 1. So just like in Linux or Mac, you can basically set up different desktops and you can rotate using hotkeys. You can also drag them where you want. You can also drag these as well.
But you have to
Or is
add
that something
everything.
different?
That's in Windows 10, or which version is this?
This is Windows 10. I know Windows 7 can do it too. It's been there for a while. It's just that it's not very, how I say, it's not aware for the most users of people. I learned this randomly on YouTube because I was very curious if Linux has something similar to Windows, and this is what I found. You can just like rotate. I have to fix my Windows. I think this was here. But yeah, I don't know if that's the same thing. Maybe something different, but I think it's the same. Going to different workstations.
Now you know. It's virtual desktop, so that's what it's saying. Hmm, interesting. I don't have it on mine. Mine doesn't have it. I'm
You
looking
have
for
to set it up. Click start and then tab.
start.
Start. Yeah, start.
I'm hitting
Windows.
asterisk,
Sorry,
bro. You can
logo.
say start
Logo.
and the asterisk.
Sorry. I meant the logo. The Windows logo and then tab. And then you can set up your virtual desktop.
Ah, yeah, I know this. Yeah, I knew this guy. This I knew.
Are
I
they
would.
the same or different?
I take it that yeah. I just never really paid attention or actually used it. But if you look at
Yeah.
it, you could also go back in time in here. I don't know if you know that.
Uh,
On the right side,
yeah, I love it.
that's the one that I know for sure. I always use that, but I never really used the new desktop. Interesting.
Yeah, it's really good, and you can just hold control and then the logo, and you can toggle in and out with it too.
Okay, now I froze my whole computer. You guys still there?
Yeah, we hear you. Okay, I guess your computer can't handle it.
It came back. Yeah, but it's very similar. Yeah, like you said, it's actually pretty much the same. Now we know. And knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. No? All right, fine. Other operating systems. Jordan.
The growth and popularity of both the Linux and Mac OS have increased the importance for computer techs. Like with any OS, these two will function better and remain more reliable with the proper maintenance. The following slides contain the common features and functionality of the Mac OS and Linux operating systems listed in the following topics: best practices, tools, features, and basic Linux commands.
Linux OS desktop. This is just a few of what's out there. These are the heavy hitters, or you could say the moms of this, because there's variants of all of these within them. You have Ubuntu, Fedora, Debian, Red Hat, which is usually used within corporate America, Mint, Knoppix, Elementary OS, SUSE, Arch, Manjaro, CentOS. Something tells me they're missing one. Oh no, I believe that's actually one of the lower ones. Never mind. Any questions or doubts? None? Okay.
I got questions for the Mac OS version.
Okay. Yeah, the Mac OS versions, all the way from Jita up to Mojave. Any questions on this one then?
Yeah, I see there at first it was alphabetical kinda, and then they kind of like went out of it,
No,
or
there's
actually
no.
no, never mind. It was never alphabetical.
It's just crazy.
Okay. No, because I'm just looking at it, it's like there's so many names, and then I'm like, are they trying to make alphabetical,
Mm-mm.
or is a meaning behind it maybe?
Well, they
They
even
like
change.
lion.
They go from being animals And then they just completely just start going now into deserts.
El Captain. I like that one.
Yep. There's obviously somebody that's coming up with these names very, very. But the last ones have been pretty much like nature locations, like the Sierra, High Sierra, and Mojave. Any other questions? Other operating systems maintenance. You have your scheduled backups, disk maintenance, updates, app store, patch management, your driver firmware updates, and your anti-malware updates / antivirus. Scheduled backups. Christina, help me out with the slide, please.
Scheduled backups. Linux OS. Backing up data can be scheduled using the resync utility from the command line. Can operate locally and remotely while encrypting the transfer. As with any command line utility, you can create batch files and schedule these backups. The tar and CPIO command line utilities are also used to construct full or partial backups. Mac OS. Backing up data can be scheduled using the resync utility as well, but the time machine utility backs up the entire Mac. Must be enabled first, then it can be automatically perform backups every hour, daily and weekly. This utility requires booting to a different drive to perform an operation on the drive in question.
Thank you. Any questions on Time Machine, rsync?
Quick question about Time Machine. When it says it has to boot to a different drive, that means that you need 2 drives for a Mac OS to do this operation, or it could be within the partition of 1 drive.
It could be another partition of the drive. Why not? Just consider another drive.
True. I'm just wondering if it has to be like that, or it,
No, not a
because I'm
physical
thinking
drive, a logical drive.
logical drive. Yeah, I'm just thinking like that's probably what it meant. Like, you know how Windows has its own like hidden partitions? Is it that's what it's referring to?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then that makes sense to me.
Or you could put a USB if you're gonna boot up. I don't know if this one boots up on USB, but I'm just giving an
Is it
example.
raining again?
Maybe. Could be. Surprise? He's surprised that it's raining in Miami, people.
It's be raining till Thursday, I think.
Sorry, I had to leave for a little bit, or else my house starts getting water
Let's
inside.
go. Love rain.
So, your tar commands, for those that don't know what, come on, you just froze on me, come back. What do they mean by that in Linux? It's as simple as that itself. You have your arguments here that you can put within the tar command. Almost, well, every single command will allow you to do the little help thing here. So you'll be able to look for it. You could say, I hate my screen when it shrinks. Now I can only see half of the screen. So you have the backups itself, never backups, make numbered backups, number of backups exists. All these commands are in here. You could also have the full manual. Not scroll up. Yeah, that's too easy. Which gives you all the information and all the syntax within the actual command. I believe if I go like this, is it man for manual, or do I have to type manual completely? Anybody remember?
Yeah, it has to be man, just man. I'll be right back.
No, it doesn't have man.
Yeah, you have to first put man and then the syntax.
Man, then tar?
Yeah, and it should come out.
Oh, there it goes, yeah. The other way around, sorry about that. This is a text file that's in there. So if I just keep on going down and down, it'll give me everything, all the different syntax. And it's a manual. It gives you the description. This is what I love about Linux, that for those that want to learn it, it will show you how to do it. It's going to train you. Obviously, you're going to have to read, but they give you everything of the command and how it gets used. Next slide. Linux OSs, as we know, use an X3 or an X4 for their partitions. Now, Linux does not require defragmentation. And instead of the other one, it's called FSC. The first time I saw FSC, because somebody typoed something, but they didn't. It's File System Checker, FSCK. Okay, that's the way you do the file system checker in the Linux OS. Similar, the Apple file system or APFS does not require defragmentation. It usually does it on the fly. It itself starts fixing it. Doesn't require you to do anything. Checking the disk health is by using a disk utility. Verify disk functionally can perform verification live without having to boot a different drive. Versus if I want to check the drive that's booting in Windows, I require to reboot Windows, and before it starts, then it can actually check the drive. Questions or doubts?
Sorry, I had to leave for a moment. So Apple doesn't need fragmentation?
Defrag, no. These operating systems, since both of them are based out of Linux, or Unix, whatever you want to say, they both, on the fly, defragment themselves. God only knows why Windows hasn't done this, because that would obviously be too easy. Windows requires you to manually defrag the drive, while these fix themselves. Any questions? Obviously, if you want to check the system files on the Linux, is FSC, almost like if you're about to say a bad word. And then over here, you have the disk utility, verify disk within Apple. Next one, system updates or your app store. Lázaro, help me out with the slide, please.
All right, number 3, system update/up store. Linux OS can be performed either in a traditional command line or through a GUI tool in Ubuntu and Fedora. Through this update tool, it is possible to check if any updates are available and then upgrade if needed. To check for updates, sudo apt-get update. To install updates, sudo apt-get upgrade. Mac OS. Apple Store provides update directly. Updates can be automatically applied through the software. Update preference and set to check daily, monthly, or weekly.
All right. So what does sudo do for me?
Sudo means you're going to become, wait.
Hello.